The Tom Woods Show, episode 1070, bonus episode.
Prepare to set fire to the index card of allowable opinion. Your daily dose of liberty education starts here. The Tom Woods Show.
Hello, everybody. Tom Woods here. Steve Clayton is back with us again. We talked to Steve last year. He is a master of e-commerce, and in particular of getting newbies up and running in e-commerce. He himself was a VP with LabCorp, a company a great many of you no doubt have heard of, and then just left that all behind to go out on his own. And I'm going to ask him about that because that's quite a gutsy move, and it paid immense dividends for him. He runs numerous e-commerce businesses of his own, and he also runs training programs to help people get up and running doing it themselves. So even though he had a great job with LabCorp, he preferred to be more of a nomad and be able to be wherever he wanted and have that kind of lifestyle. And he got it. He got it. It's an amazing story because I think a lot of us, myself included, are conservative enough that in that position, I think I would have accepted the negative aspects of the job and just been glad about the high salary. But for him, the money was not enough. There was something more important than money. And he wound up getting the money anyway. So it all worked out very well for him. Steve, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Tom. Really excited to be here. Thank you.
All right, it's been, 8-10 months since we've spoken last, and maybe I've had a lot of new listeners since then, and not everybody remembers your story, but you've got such a great story that I feel like I can't talk about e-commerce and the internet and stuff without diving into your personal stake in all this and what it's meant for you and where you came from and all that. I mean, here you were, a guy with an extremely enviable job, right? I mean, you're VP over at LabCorp, a company we've all heard of. We've all had blood testing done there. And there you are on top of the world. I don't know what you were earning, but I'm sure it was a lot.
Yep.
And you took that. You didn't say, I'm not going to work at McDonald's anymore. I'm going to give something else a try. You were risking a lot when you said, take this job and shove it. I think I can work on my own much better. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, hopefully it resonates with a lot of people, not necessarily because they'd have the exact same story, but I think people often have the same feelings, right? And those feelings were more like, you're on this autopilot path and, you're just kind of moving along and going through the motions and maybe you're not doing the things that really make you happy. So I started out as a programmer. When I got out of school, computer programmer, and I enjoyed that. But I was probably never going to be the guy who invented the next, new compiler design or something like that. I mean, I was a reasonably okay programmer, but I think my strengths were really more about being able to talk to the business people too, and kind of translate that into programming. So those kind of people who are able to sort of speak, business and nerd, which was kind of my gift back then. We were able to sort of rise up in corporate America and be, directors and or project managers, directors, and then I ended up being a chief information officer for a public company, and this was a really exciting time for me because it was a very small company. I mean, small within the context of other public companies. It was $30-40 million a year in revenue. And we had a 6 or 7 year stretch where we grew that company into a $200 million business. And so it was super entrepreneurial. It was really small. It was really fast moving. There was a lot of risk taking. The management team was a very small group of us. And anyway, it was a great time, So, like all businesses like that, you face with the point where you reach a certain point of growth, and all of a sudden people are interested in buying you. And so along comes LabCorp. And LabCorp was at that point, I don't know, maybe $4.5 billion company, somewhere around there. So they buy us, and I don't mean to say anything bad about LabCorp. They're a really good company. They've always treated me very, very well. But when you're a $5 billion company, you really can't maneuver. You're not very entrepreneurial. You're just, you've got all this corporate culture and baggage and all that kind of stuff. And certainly my career path, when I was younger, I always thought, well, I'll just continue to sort of ride that corporate ladder, maybe be a CEO at some point, until I think I got old enough where I sort of realized I'm not even sure I want to do that. I don't even think I'd be good at it. As it turns out, people who are entrepreneurs tend to make really crappy employees for the most part, because we want to go out and do our own thing. We think we want to take risks. We want to go think outside the box, and we want to come up with new ways of doing things and new ideas. And that doesn't fit really well with corporate, So I had to really take a step back and say, geez, I'm really not happy. I don't know that I can really fake it, and rise up anymore in the corporate ladder. So what am I going to do? And I had always wanted to be my own, have my own business. I always want to build a business. And I think a lot of people feel that way. They just don't know what to do, and I had been dabbling in internet marketing for a couple of years. It interested me because it was there was a nice sort of intersection of my technical interests about, what's going on online and analytical skills and things like that, along with marketing and business. And so I said, I think I can make something out of an online business. And that's where I just said, okay, I'm gonna do it. And I put some goals out there, and I said, if I can accomplish this by this certain time and this quarter, then I won't go look for a real job. And, that was whatever, I don't even know anymore, 13 years ago or something like that. And I haven't ever had to go back to a real job. So I'm sure that was more than you wanted to hear.
No, but that's fascinating to me. That's absolutely fascinating. And then on top of running e-commerce businesses, you've also been involved in teaching people things. Now, I have a PhD in U.S. history, which is not a very marketable thing, right? Yeah. But right. At the same time, and there's a lot of knowledge acquisition that goes into getting that.
Yep.
But I wouldn't have any fun with it if I weren't sharing it with people, if I weren't producing podcast episodes or writing books. If I weren't sharing it, it would be no fun. And I think that's kind of the attitude that I get from you, is that, yeah, you do really, really well, but you also like showing other people how that's done. And I know there are people who feel like, if you're doing really well, why wouldn't you just want to keep it to yourself? Yeah. What kind of a terrible person are you to even think that? If you're doing well, you would want to share. In fact, our mutual friends, Tara and Nicholas Miller, who done very well learning from you and who are listeners of mine and supporters of the show, I know in the back of their minds, they're thinking that someday they'd like to train young moms and dads to do what they do working from home. So I think it's a natural instinct.
Yeah, I think it is too. By the way, Tara, I just met with Tara yesterday, and come to find out, their business is now actually bigger. That part of the part of our business, their business is actually bigger than ours now. For crying out loud! So
that is crazy. So
yes.
they run Shopify stores. Yeah. I mean, just because not everybody knows what that business model is.
Yeah.
From their homes,
right.
They don't ever touch any products.
Right.
They don't have to. They almost never have to talk to anybody.
Yep.
I mean, it's an amazing model. And wow, I mean, when I had them on the show, because I was getting all these people saying, "Hey, Woods, look at this that I'm accomplishing thanks to Steve Clayton." So I did a whole episode on it,
right.
And I didn't know how well they were doing. So I basically dropped the microphone. Like, what the heck? What, are you kidding me? And sometimes you hear these numbers and you think, that can't be.
I know.
No one can do that. That can't be.
It's crazy, but just Amazon is a good metric to think about, right? Amazon sold last year $23 billion of products from third-party sellers, people like us. $23 billion. So, I mean, yeah, you hear those numbers and they're crazy, but somebody's selling it, because it was this. Oh, by the way, this went by last year. I mean, 2016. So 2017 was probably closer to almost $30 billion. I mean, it's just insane. But Tom, I did want to pick up on one thing you said about this teaching other people, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I think part of my journey was trying to figure out what I call, and I talk about this a lot because I love sharing this, sort of my recipe for happiness. And my recipe for happiness it sounds ridiculously simple, but I think people just don't do it. So my recipe is this: figure out what you like to do more of that. Figure out what you don't like to don't do as much of that. And help other people do the same thing as much as you can. Those are the three things that I try and do. And it's amazing how I understand that sounds very simple, but people don't do it. They don't actually even understand the things that make them happy. They don't become introspective. They don't look at their life. They're on autopilot all the time. They're living other people's expectations. They don't think about what really makes them happy. So I went through this journey and I discovered, you know what? One of the things that really makes me happy is not only building these businesses, but sharing that with other people, helping other people, training other people, and watching these businesses develop. And my partners and I, we have trained thousands of people over the last decade, and it never gets old to have a conversation like I had yesterday with Tara, where she tells me all her numbers because we were trying to give her some advice. Turns out she should be giving us advice, for crying out loud, because again, we have many businesses, but when we compare our specific exact type of business to hers, she's now bigger than we are. So that's pretty damn awesome as far as I'm concerned.
And that happened in under a year.
Yeah.
That's the thing. She found out about you less than a year ago. And by the way, people in my supporting listeners Facebook group, some of them know the Millers. They're regular people who comment in the Facebook group like anybody else. All right, so you release a lot of videos, you do podcast episodes. I think I heard, I don't know if it was you. Yeah, you've been on with Andrew Hansen. I think you've been on his podcast. I know him. Yep. But then you guys also you do a product launch every year, but it's only one a year. It's not these serial product launchers who every 6 weeks they've got something new that's going to change the world. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. We try and do, we spend a lot of time figuring out what, we feel like each year our objective is the same. And our objective is, what is the best way to get as many people as we possibly can to build online businesses? That's what we try and accomplish each and every year. And then during the year, we do all sorts of, free videos and free information. And, we talk to people like you, Tom, and Andrew, and all that kind of good stuff. But we put all of our efforts into this, once a year. What is the current, with current technology, with current market conditions, with our current level of understanding, and also our infrastructure. The other thing that guides our company, and we have many different facets of our company, but the other thing that guides our company is that everything we do for ourselves, we also figure out if we can leverage for other people. So quick, tiny little example. We have a warehouse in North Carolina. We also have one in China. And so when we produce products each year, we leverage things like that. Or our programming team, or software. That's a big thing. Software tools that we develop in-house that help us. So each year our objective is the same. The way that we accomplish that objective is different sometimes each year, but it's always a really exciting time for us to do that.
I constantly get the question, what should I do? I know there are a lot of people doing a lot of things online, and a lot of them seem to work for those people. Right. But I don't even know where to start. There are a lot of different models. I could be an affiliate. I could create my own product. I could have a membership site. You could just go on and on and on. And I sometimes know how to answer that. I try to figure out where they're coming from and what their strengths are. But is there a more generic answer that you give?
I think so. I mean, I think that e-commerce is really the place to begin, barring any other sort of, special information or circumstances. And for me, the reason that is because, everybody understands that model. We all shop on Amazon. I mean, pretty much. I'd be shocked if there's anybody listening to this, right, that has not bought something on Amazon. So we all understand the model. We all understand the marketing behind it. We know that, people need this garlic press or a trash can and we sort of understand the marketing that goes in around that, and what the description should be and all that kind of stuff. So you don't need to have an MBA or a marketing degree or anything like that. It's super easy to explain to people, and by that I actually mean like your family and friends. And when you go to your spouse and you say, I want to do an online business, and you start talking about affiliate marketing or information
they
product
have no
marketing.
idea what you're even talking about.
It's like, I don't think we're going to do that because you can't even explain it to me.
I give up.
It's a big joke in my family. Nobody actually knows what I do for a living, because we have our fingers in so many different things. So I think for all those reasons, and then I think the biggest reason to consider e-commerce is Amazon. Like I said, in 2016, $23 billion of sales were made on the Amazon platform by people like me and you and all the people listening here, people working out of their garage. And in 2017, guarantee it was about $30 billion. And Amazon sells more from people like us than they do of their own stuff. And so they've created this environment where, it makes it so much easier to be able to start a business because they are essentially your partner in it.
Yeah, see, now that's something I want to jump in on. A lot of people have the wrong idea about Amazon. They look at it one-dimensionally. They say that Amazon is simply a destructive force that is ruining local retail. And it's true. There's a grain of truth in that there are a lot of retail establishments that are finding they can't compete with Amazon. Fair enough. But that, I think, only looks at one side of the picture. The other side is Amazon also makes it possible for the little guy to prosper. For example, let's say some small used bookstore somewhere that would never have enough foot traffic from the neighborhood to keep its doors open, but they have a worldwide platform because of Amazon. And likewise, people can piggyback on the fact that Amazon already has a platform, already has a reputation, and people already have their payment information stored in Amazon, so you don't even have to get over the hurdle of getting people's wallets out of their pockets. That, to me, is the real story of Amazon, but it's hardly ever being told.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They're just disruptive. Things change. When the automobile came around, obviously a lot of people who were in horses and buggies, there was a problem for them. But they had other opportunities, where they could sell auto parts or tires or whatever. So it's not that it's not causing any pain, but with any market disruption like this, there's pain, but there's also incredible opportunity. And you know what? Most people don't own a small mom and pop brick and mortar store. So it actually is more opportunity than it is pain, I think,
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. But again, there's a part of our society that looks at amazing things and is constantly trying to find the bad in them instead of saying, this is great, what a wonderful time to be alive this is. All right, so e-commerce, but e-commerce, like affiliate marketing, from time to time changes. The best practices change, the best platform changes, the best approach changes. And the kind of traffic I should try to drive changes. So how do people stay on top of that? Is there a chance that they could be in an outdated model or something?
Well, I think it's absolutely has changed. I mean, back when I look at our first e-commerce sites that we developed, and I don't even remember what year it was, honestly, but I can tell you that the site actually still even exists. It's called pbmissions.com, which was a completely meaningless domain name. But we sold these train horns. Now, I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent, but these are the most obnoxious things ever because they're essentially like these air compressor horns like you find on trains, like really loud, obnoxious things that you put in your trucks and boats and things like that. So, it's that's pretty annoying. But there was a niche market for these train horns. And so back then, you build your own website. So you had to have all the technical knowledge. You had to have all the design and graphic design knowledge and all that kind of stuff. You had to buy inventory, right? Oftentimes a lot of inventory, and you had to warehouse that inventory. You had to fulfill the orders. So, you had to have staff in the warehouse and shipping and all that kind of stuff. And then, for crying out loud, the traffic, you had to drive traffic to your website. So you had to learn search engine optimization. You had to learn, Google AdWords. And then there was a huge amount of risk of paying for that traffic and all that kind of stuff. So that was sort of, although it was much, much better than a brick and mortar store, right? Because there's like 100 times more risk and capital investment for a brick and mortar store. There was still a lot of pain points there. The capital, the warehouse, inventory management, SEO, Amazon or Google AdWords traffic, cash flow, all that kind of stuff. Oh, and by the way, customer support and returns, all that sort of stuff, right? You fast forward now, and we're talking, almost 15 years. And now Amazon essentially, if you know what you're doing and with a little bit of training and things like that, Amazon essentially takes care of all of those pain points for you. If you don't have to manage your inventory anymore or do the order fulfillment or do the returns or do the customer service. You don't have to worry about traffic. You don't have to worry about your website. You don't have to be a graphic designer or anything like that. You can provide inventory to Amazon, and essentially at that point, you're done. And you don't even have to you can dip your toe in and out. So you don't have to buy like a lot of inventory or anything like that. I mean, very specifically, you could potentially buy, 50 Rubbermaid trash cans, provide those to Amazon, sell them at a profit, and that's it. I mean, you don't have to talk to any customer. You don't have to package up any order. You don't have to store them in your garage. You don't have to worry about search engine optimization or paying for AdWords traffic or returns or anything like that. So there's been this evolution of sort of this easing into an e-commerce model and the reduction of risk. I mean, if you think about it, there's like zero risk to try and be one of these people that are selling these $30 billion a year and making a profit in doing so.
Well, I'm certainly not worried about my, $5,000 a month mortgage on my storefront. Again,
exactly,
like this is 1957 or something.
Yeah.
I had a guy on this show a couple of times named Ryan Daniel Moran. He actually bought the domain name capitalism.com. I don't know what that cost him. I'm sure it was a fortune because I think it might have been held by somebody who hated capitalism. So, and yet that person, I'm sure, made a cool fortune selling the domain.
The irony.
But anyway, Ryan has made he's 7, maybe 8 figures at this point, and a lot of it was through Amazon and not through the affiliate program, although nothing against the Amazon affiliate program. You can make a little cash here and there and buy your lunch every day with it. But there are other ways of prospering on Amazon. That's what he's done, is he just used the existing platform. But there are a couple of ways of doing it, and I know that if I were going to get involved with Amazon, there's a really, really hard and annoying way that I would avoid. Right. There's a much easier way.
Yeah, there definitely is. I mean, you generally find people who do one of two things on Amazon. And many times, like us, they do both of these things, which I actually think is a good idea, to do both of these things. So the two different ways are, one is you could come up with your own product. So we have
not doing it.
There you go, right
Sorry.
away. Right? Well, it's not as hard as it seems, but there are a lot more obstacles to overcome. You have to create your own list, and you have to do a lot of your own marketing and brand building and so on. And so you sort of come up with your own version of a mousetrap, for lack of a better way to describe it. The other model, which is a hell of a lot easier, and certainly if you're brand new, I recommend that this is the way to start, because it's just so much easier, so much quicker, even less risk, even though there's not that much risk with doing your own. And that is, you are just simply selling other people's products. So think about the guy who has the brick and mortar store on Main Street in your town. And maybe he's got a little general store, if any of those still exist, and he's selling Rubbermaid trash cans. Well, I mean, those are the same Rubbermaid trash cans that the general store down the street is selling, or Walmart is selling, or in the next town over. So this is a model that's been around for a long time. You're simply not selling them in the mom and pop store on Main Street. You're selling them on Amazon. And I don't actually know the exact percentage, but I would venture to say probably 60 to maybe even 75% of that $30 billion that's sold on Amazon by other people is through this model, because it's much easier to do. More people are doing it, and there's a lot more turnover and everything. And so you are simply, buying wholesale. You're buying much like a Main Street mom and pop person would do. You buy 10, 20, 30, whatever it is, Rubbermaid trash cans at $10, and you sell them on Amazon for $20. And you're selling them on a listing that already exists on Amazon. You're typically sharing it with 4 or 5 other people who are also selling the Rubbermaid trash cans. And that's just fine, because there's plenty of traffic and buyers to go around. And Amazon provides you with all the traffic. You don't worry about marketing. You don't worry about customer support. You don't worry about fulfilling the orders. You don't worry about returns. You don't worry about any of that stuff. All you simply do is identify that, Rubbermaid trash cans looks like the right opportunity for me right now. And I'll talk about how you would do that in just one second.
Yeah, that was my question.
Yeah.
How would I? There's 8 zillion things on Amazon, and some of them probably sell well, and some of them don't sell.
Yep. But the beauty is that Amazon will tell you what it is. And then you identify that Rubbermaid trash cans are what you want to sell, and you get them at a wholesale price, or hell, you can even get them at a lot of people do this. With Costco is running a sale, half off. You buy 40 of them. The other day, my wife ordered something, and I think it was actually the Rubbermaid trash can, which is why I keep using that as an example. My wife ordered one from Amazon, and it showed up in a Walmart box because they didn't even bother to redo the box.
Wow.
Yeah, somebody just bought it at Walmart for $10 and sold it on Amazon for $20. People do this all the time. So anyway, that's what this model is, and why it's so easy, because the buyers are already there. So we were talking a little bit about the how do you know the Rubbermaid trash cans are what you want to do? It's interesting. Amazon actually gives you all of the or a lot of the market intelligence that you need to know to decide that that's a good opportunity. Now, there are ways that you can, we have software that makes it even more of a no-brainer. But even if you don't have that software, you can look on Amazon and you could look at what's called the bestseller ranking. And, if you don't know where that is or what it is, just Google that. And it's on every Amazon listing. And basically, that is just a number that tells you how well this product is selling. You can look at anything on Amazon, and if you sort of have a knowledge of what those, what the context of that number is, you can tell whether it's selling really well. And in general, any BSR, the lower the BSR, the more it sells. And so what I always tell people is, look, if you've got a BSR under 5,000, I don't care what category it is, that's a product that sells a lot. You're talking about, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 a day, something like that. And so you already know what it sells for price-wise. You know that it sells a lot. You know how many other sellers are selling it. So, Amazon gives you this incredible amount of market intelligence. You don't really have to guess. It's pretty amazing.
Couldn't it also be that occasionally there's an obscure product that doesn't sell that many, but at the same time, there aren't that many other sellers, so that would also balance out? How do I balance all those considerations out? Maybe everybody wants to get into the number one product or something.
Yeah, no, it's true. You really don't. It's really, at the end of the day, what it comes down to is how much can you make every day, right? And so think about it for a minute. If you had perfect knowledge that by looking at a listing and saying, okay, I know I will be able to sell 2 of these every single day, and I know what I will sell them for because I can tell that, and I know what I can buy them for, okay, then you know for certain how much money you'll make every day. And so that's all you care about. You don't really care whether it's a really popular product that has a low price point and a lot of people selling it, or if it's an obscure product that has a high price point and nobody's selling it. Doesn't matter, because all that matters is what combination of those variables, assuming you have that perfect data, what combination of those variables produce an end result of a profit per day for you. That's really all you care about.
All right. Now, the thing is, the last thing in the world I want to do, let me be frank, is box up Rubbermaid trash cans and send them into Amazon.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no desire to do that.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think most people do either.
No.
There's got to be a workaround.
Yeah, absolutely. There are services out there that will do that for you. And so you never have to see the inventory. You buy it, you buy, 50 trash cans, you send them to this place and they'll do it all for you. You never see it. And our program that we're launching this year is certainly an all-inclusive program like that. We're just basically leveraging the same warehouse we use. We've actually got a warehouse now in Detroit and a warehouse in North Carolina in the United States. So we do it ourselves. We have people that receive the merchandise and just simply repackage it for Amazon. Try not to have people buy something on Amazon that shows up with a Walmart box. But there are ways getting involved with folks like us, or again, there are other services that that you could use where they'll do that stuff for you.
All right, so if I'm getting this right, I don't have a whole lot of experience on Amazon except as an affiliate, but The idea is people are already buying certain products all the time. I don't need to send traffic to them. There's a worldwide audience for Rubbermaid trash cans, whatever. These things are already selling.
Yep.
So it's just a matter of you be the guy who, when the person clicks the buy now button, collects the dough. I don't know how that happens, and I don't know where I would start with doing something like that. And I don't know, is it a pain in the neck? I mean, the one thing that I know is that I know trash cans sell,
right,
and I also know that I'm not going to have a garage full of trash cans, but I'm not exactly sure what the steps are here.
Yeah, I think that here are the places that people run into problems. Just kind of doing it, right? One is just the overall training to understand Amazon. Amazon's back office, it's called Seller Central. I mean, it's good, but it's by no means would I call it intuitive, which, is not terribly surprising. I don't think Amazon's website has ever been, the best website, designed website ever. So just an overall understanding of how Amazon works. Believe me, it is not hard. You just need a little bit of training to do that. I think the other place that people will run into trouble is this getting the perfect data, right? So, how do I absolutely know how many of these things are being sold, what I can sell them for, and how many I would actually be able to sell per day? So getting that perfect data is really, really important. Another area that people may run into problems is finding suppliers. That is probably one of the bigger challenges that people have. That's why a lot of people go to like Costco or, Walmart or something when they see big sales. But that is not the best way, because you don't get the lowest prices, and it's really hard to scale a business into like a multi-million-dollar business by shopping at Walmart. It's pretty much impossible to do that. And the final way I think that people would get hung up on this, obstacles that they might see, would be this, what you were talking about, kind of that warehouse and, okay, well, where do I don't want to bring these to my garage, and then I have to repackage them, and that's a pain in the ass and all that kind of stuff. Keep in mind, and I always like to tell people this, all those things I just described, it sure as hell beats digging ditches for a living. I mean, like, even if you didn't have any help, plenty of us have overcome these on our own, and $30 billion gets sold doing this way, a lot of people out of their garage. But I understand why people don't, are worried about these things. And again, like I was saying, every year our goal is to try and get rid of as many of these problems with the best model that we can come up with, that we're using to help people build businesses. So that's what we've done this year is, we've put together our basically a software suite that gets you that perfect data. So along with a whole supplier infrastructure, here are all suppliers that are ready to sell you products. Here are the thousands and thousands of products that they sell. And essentially we work with our folks to bounce that up against the software and say, yep, Rubbermaid trash cans. Sure enough, if you buy 20 of those, you'll be able to sell those in 7 days, and you'll make $550 in profit. And it's ridiculously accurate. We have spent years tracking down the best data sources. Now Amazon helps tremendously, but it's super, super accurate. So you get all that market intelligence and that really accurate data. So that gets rid of that obstacle. The supplier database and all the relationships that we have with all of these wholesale suppliers and thousands of products. Get rid of that obstacle. We've got our warehouses that handle all of the orders and all that kind of stuff. So you get rid of that obstacle. We've kind of, that's basically what we try and do. You can do it on your own too. You can get rid of those obstacles. As I keep saying, it's all relative. You're not out flipping burgers. You're not digging ditches. If you wanted to overcome them yourself, you can. You can do it out of your garage, just like people who are selling $30 billion worth of stuff every single year. But hopefully we can make it a little bit easier.
Well, as last year, you're going to do a demonstration for us and give us an overview of exactly how this works, how other people are doing this.
Yep.
And as I said, I know people who are super duper successful with this. And I have not run into anybody who has listened to Steve Clayton give a presentation who said, well, that was not a good use of my time. That does not exist. There's no such thing. That's like a unicorn. Does not exist.
I appreciate it.
So we're going to do that on January 23rd, 7 p.m. Eastern. And I have a sign up at, I decided to do tomwoods.com/beginner. because maybe this is the beginning thing for a lot of people who have been on the fence, and they say, yeah, I know I should probably do this. It is 2018 after all, and there are a lot of things I could be doing in 2018 that I couldn't have done in 1958. So, well, listen to what Steve has to say and make up your mind.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you got nothing to lose to listen to what'll be a lot of content in much, much more detail than we could go into on a podcast like this about this model. I mean, very, very detailed. So you'll walk away with a lot of information, whether you ever choose to, move forward and be part of our team or not. But you'll get a lot out of it. I absolutely promise you that.
And it does not matter if you like Amazon or not.
No.
I know there are some people who don't like large behemoths or whatever. And there are people like me who aren't particularly fans of Mark Zuckerberg on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly.
But as I've said repeatedly on my email list, I may not like Mark Zuckerberg, but if he wants to help me get rich, I'll let him.
Absolutely.
And I think that should be the attitude. In fact, somebody the other day, I don't know if I should repeat it. Let's just say his name is Jason. He's been a guest on the show. I'll just leave it there. I saw him on Facebook commenting on, somebody had a discussion thread going about something, and they were asking, are you offended by people who spend their money in such and such a way, or buy this asset or don't buy that asset? And this guy said, you know what offends me? That libertarians are the brokest people I know. That offends me. I'm sick of that. So anyway, if you're sick of that too, you got to check out TomWoods.com/beginner. All right, Steve, I hope you survive the brutal cold out there in Chicago. But remember, you're the guy who chose to move from Florida to Chicago. So, how many people can you blame for that?
I know. You're absolutely right. I know.
All right. Anyway, always fun talking to you, Steve. Thanks a lot.
You too, Tom. Thanks.
All right, everybody, TomWoods.com/beginner is where to sign up. You are not going to regret any time spent with Steve Clayton. Very, very good guy and very, very smart guy. Knows way, way more about this stuff than I do, so I will certainly be there as well. Thanks for listening. See you next week.
Become a smarter libertarian in just 30 minutes a day. Visit TomWoods.com to subscribe to the show for free, and we'll see you next time.